You're listening to the REITE Club podcast, where the focus is all about helping you grow your real estate investment portfolio and live the life you want to live. Come grow with us and join our community at thereiteclub.com. And now your hosts, Sarah Larby and Alfonso Salemi.
I'll just say, like, I've had so many people reach out to me saying, "Hey, Andrew, have you looked into getting a visa down there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing that right now." Like, they're like, "We want to come down." Like, so many people, savvy real estate investors in our community are saying, "Yes, we are looking to get our visas and potentially relocate." They want to be investors down here. I think, this last year in Ontario has really, taught a lot of people some unfortunate truths about Canada and where we stand right now. And, right now it seems like it's a pretty great opportunity to be down here. So I'd love some more company. Come join the fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say though that, I'm quite surprised with how Ontario handled the whole thing, but I'm also more surprised. Like, if you look back at like a year and a half ago, like, would we have thought that the market would have gone so crazy and in most markets gone up 40%? Like, again, that this is an anomaly, but like without having a crystal ball, nobody knows, but like, what do you think is happening? I know you, Andrew, you do a lot of digging and searching and trying to, figure out meanings of different things, but what can you tell us about some of the research that you've done on this crazy market and what you think, might be happening?
Well, I think that there's just so many contributing factors that have driven up Canadian real estate prices. At the end of the day, it's all supply and demand. So we have to look at the factors that restrict supply and then also overstimulate demand. So on the demand side, we have got international investors with no restriction. So anyone from any country can come in and pretty well buy in Canada with no restriction. And then Canada is seen as a very safe place. It's seen as a very safe place to store money. So it attracts people on that front. But then we have immigration that's going crazy. Even Justin Trudeau's, announced 1.2 million over the next 3 years. People coming into a country where most people want to go to Toronto area, Vancouver area, or Montreal. And so when you have so many people, say, pouring into Ontario and all going to one location, our planning process is really slow. It's really hard to get approvals to build new properties. And then you have all these restrictions with Greenbelt. And then you want to add on to that it's getting very difficult with the COVID restrictions to get lumber because they've shut down mills. Pretty well every supply chain is compromised across the board, driving prices up. So when price of new construction goes up, that's going to drive the price of resale up. So all those things, this chaotic perfect storm, and then you add on the fact that our government is basically printing money at an alarming pace, an unprecedented pace. They're dumping more cash into an economy that has less goods and services available. And when you combine all that, so if there's less goods and services but more dollars, that just means prices go up. So we've had a combination of all these things happening all at once, and I don't see them stopping unless we have something that causes a major correction in demand. There is going to be a plateau where prices just get outside of affordability for the average Canadian. And then what we're going to see is more people occupying smaller units. So smaller units, or, 2 families move into a 3-bed, 2-bath and, using double the utilities, but saving space. I see us kind of eventually going that direction in Ontario, smaller and smaller and more people cramming into smaller spaces so that they can afford it. But who knows where it stops, but those are the factors that I see contributing to it. And sure, there could be a big correction at some point. If there was something severe enough happen to the economy that it rocked people's confidence and said, okay, if I've got a little bit of money, I better hang on to it. That could correct demand. And then we would see prices fall. So it could happen. We could see a massive correction. We could see no correction. We could see a stagnation, or we could see things just continue on and maybe just at a slower pace. But there's no way we continue at 30, 40% sustainably unless something really bad's on its way. So all speculation. I love talking about this stuff, trying to figure out what's going to happen so that we can position ourselves to win as a result of it, right? Those who hold assets, when inflation happens, it actually helps us. It's helped me. I'm sure it's helped you, Sarah, Francois. It's great when you have assets. It's unfortunate for those who don't, but if you're in that position, now's the time, get into something that cash flows and make sure you're ready to hold it long term.
Yeah, you mentioned something very interesting on your podcast. So for any of those who listen to your podcast, like creating value. So a lot of people are not creating value right now. And I think that's why like this is not sustainable at all. Like salaries are not going up. Yes, we are producing some stuff, but not nearly enough. So yeah, I wonder where that's going to. I don't know if you have any
Yeah.
insights on the job market and.
Well, I mean, it's hard to work when government won't let you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have multiple people who can't come work right now because they're under stay-at-home orders because they came into contact with somebody. So, when that kind of thing's happening, it's going to create a challenge. But I heard this statistic, and I'm trying to find where I found this. But basically, only 20% of Canada's population is actually producing goods and services, aka not working for government. And actually able to work right now, only 20% of all people in Canada. So that means all 100% are consumers, but only 20% are creating value. That is a recipe for disaster. So can you imagine, that means 20% of the population of Canada props up the rest of the country. Because governments just consume value. They don't actually create value. They redistribute and consume. So, we've got to get back to a place, like if we could get back to a place where nearly 100% of the population, or like call it 80%, we're producing goods and services. Think about how much lower taxes would need to be. We wouldn't have all these needs for support. People would be able to support their own families. They wouldn't need government intervention. My macro look at it is the government has just gotten way too big, way too many services being provided. And I think if we were to learn something out of this last year and a half and this reckless spending, this craziness, like think about any of us, we make $3,000 a month and we decide we're going to spend $4,000. How long until you're bankrupt, right? Like you got a few months, a year, yet the government can do it for decades at a time and never stop and never be held accountable. So I'm hoping we see something change on that front, because I just don't see how this could be sustainable going forward. I think that if we stay on this path, it leads Canada to be a second-rate nation, third world nation. We don't want to be that. I'm very, very proud to be, Canadian as I grew up, but I'm certainly not proud of our government. I'm really not proud of what's happened.
No, I think it's quite unfortunate, and without getting into the politics and stuff like that, I wouldn't have expected that from a conservative premier. But
no, me neither.
It is what it is. I mean, I think part of it is somebody's pulling the strings, and I think he's becoming more and more the puppet. Comparing that to where you are with a premier, somebody that's leading the Florida, the state of Florida, that is actually able to stand up for the people. And again, not everybody is going to be agreeing with what we're saying, and I don't want to get into the politics per se, but I think wherever you are standing at some point, you're gonna there's no reason why we should still be in this a year and a half later.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's kind of an abstract discussion, but if no man or woman has more rights than another, then how does 100 men or women in a legislature have the right to take away the human rights of another? I think the big thing that we've forgotten is that we all assume risk every day. We assume risk when we walk outside the sidewalk. A car could jump the curb and kill us. If we get in a car, we could get in a car accident, and we've got a death rate associated with that. We could get struck by lightning. There's a million things. I mean, to live, you must assume risk. And what our government's tried to do is say, well, we can make you safe and we can take away that risk, but we're going to take away your choice too. But that's not what it is to live. To live is to choose to take the risk in order to live. And things have really changed. And maybe it's easier for me to say that being down here in Florida, because that's just what the government did. It said, you make the choice. You want to stay home, stay home. If you want to go out, go out. And they're doing okay. Like they're doing just fine. Like cases have been on the decline or stagnated, which is interesting, right? Because, I think they're only about 27% vaccinated down here, which is similar to Ontario, yet fully open. UFC fight just happened the other day, about a week ago, and they packed it 15,000 people. So just a different world. And this just means to me, we need an open discussion, right? There's always two sides to the debate, but we're not being allowed to hear both sides.
We're not balancing it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's hear both sides.
Doctors, let's look at the doctors like from a mental health standpoint, not just specific doctors from a different or one specific.
Yeah.
But
exactly. Just balance, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the REITE Club podcast and joining our community of real estate investors online at thereiteclub.com, where the focus is about helping you grow. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks from your hosts, Sarah Larby and Alfonso Salemi.